Ba, ba, ha, ba, My cheeks hurt. Ba. There was a bit more pain. I felt something violently shaking in my arms. I opened my eyes at the exact moment the earth let out a tremendous ringing sound. I reflexively raised my head and could see brilliant flashes of light. The sparks of probability in the sky were falling like lightning strikes all over the demon world. Dokja? I woke up the moment I heard Yusanga's voice. Like a disconnected current being reconnected, thoughts started to flow through my head. There were broken incarnation bodies everywhere. No matter how I looked, this wasn't the mythical battlefield. All the fallen bodies were living human beings. The industrial complex being torn apart by the thunder-eating bird could be seen. Did the constellations come? Yusanga, who was about to say something, wiped her bloody cheeks and nodded. Yes. A system message was floating in the air while the party members were in tatters. The winner still hasn't been announced. It was a situation I expected thanks to the last message of Junghyeok in the library. However, I didn't expect the situation to be so serious. Lee Hyung-sung suffered a serious injury on his side and staggered. I quickly got off Lee Hyung-sung's back and brought a few recovery items from the Dokja bag. I gave the Great Return Pill to Lee Hyung-sung and Yusanga, who were the most seriously injured. Shin Yu-sung had no wounds, but her magic power was depleted, so I gave her an advanced magic power recovery medicine. Trauma medicine was given to Hang Myung-oh, Breaking the Sky Master, and Jang Ha-young. It cost over 400,000 coins, but now was not the time to worry about that. Ajashi. Shin Yu-sung drank the potion and looked up at me while leaning against the rock. I looked at Shin Yu-sung for a moment before saying, "You should rest here." By the way, in a distant place, the deafening roar of constellations was shaking the earth. I could tell the number exceeded 12 just by the status. At this moment, I had an ominous feeling. The constellations were gathered, so how could the party members flee to here? Junghyeok. None of the party members answered. I looked around the battlefield as an explosion occurred. Everyone except for Junghyeok was here. In addition, someone was fighting the constellations. The fourth wall is shaking faintly. That stupid bastard! Ajashi, no! Shin Yu-sung clung to my waist when I tried to run forward. Ajashi will die! You'll die out there! She was always straightforward and a brave child. Fear was deeply permeated in the child's eyes. Shin Yu-sung burst into tears as I pulled away from her. In the saturated battlefield, the tears scattered like dust. Perhaps this child had seen it. It was the fear of a giant story that humans could never overcome. Please take care of Yu-sung. I left Shin Yu-sung to Jang Ha-young, who was in a good condition, and activated Way of the Wind. I heard a voice calling out to me from behind, but had no time to turn around. I moved forward, and the pressure of the status bursting from the center of the battlefield became stronger. It was a fearsome storm of magic that I had never experienced before. The center definitely contained Junghyeok. Kim Dokja thought, is there a way? The pages of ways of survival flashed in my head. It is impossible. That method is too unreasonable. I bit my lips. I predicted that this situation might happen. However, the time passed too quickly and I had been asleep for too long. I was late. Junghyeok was still far away and the wind wasn't on my side. I could buy a new skill from the Dokja bag, but I couldn't guarantee its utilization. In the end, I made a decision. I will invest 3 million coins into my strength, physique, agility, and magic power. Your total stats have grown abnormally. The coins you have invested have allowed you to cross the stat limit of the scenario. A fuller probability will release some of the stat constraints for this scenario. The growth of the stats value compared to the invested coins will be randomly adjusted. A tremendous amount of sparks jumped from my body. Felt like my muscles were tearing and growing bigger. There was the feeling of my bone density changing and a terrible pain came over me. I had to put it off now due to the poor cost to value ratio, but there was no other way. Your mind can't cope with your evolving body. The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, is activated. Your incarnation body is evolving to a new level. Since the early scenarios, the overall stats didn't have a big influence on combat. It was because stories, stigmas, and skills had much more influence. In addition, since the number of coins per level after 100 was exponentially larger, it was more advantageous to buy a skill using the same amount of coins. Now the situation was different. All your stats have exceeded 200. Your incarnation body can handle a bigger status. I needed a strong body, not a powerful skill. Your agility has reduced the air resistance. Magic power is opening up the blocked bloodstream. A huge amount of coins were transforming my incarnation body. Your strength is causing an explosive change. The frequency of my footsteps and the speed at which the landscape passed in my vision changed drastically. Junghyeok! Of course, it was impossible to surpass the constellations or transcendence. Still, it was enough to confront them for a while. Many constellations are envying your incarnation body. I crossed the wilderness at a tremendous speed, and the center of the battlefield finally entered my eyes. At the center, I could see a dying person. You idiot! What are you doing? In front of Surya's radiant light, Junghyeok was dying. I didn't know where his left arm had gone, and steam was rising from his charred body. Even so, Junghyeok was gripping the black demon sword without moving an inch. Junghyeok's head moved slowly towards me. His voice wasn't heard, as if he had no strength to open his lips. The fourth wall is greatly shaken. The words of the mass production maker came to mind. The constellations were also just part of this great story. They were also lonely and had to do these things. Bullshit. Get lost! The founder of humanity stood in front of me and wielded the primitive sphere. The exclusive skill Electrification Level 10 +2 has been activated. White lightning exploded from my fist, and the battlefield filled with a blue light. The confused constellations supported the throned black Manu and raised their status. The magic power poured towards me like a tsunami. My strengthened body withstood the mighty power of the constellations. The flesh of my fist cracked, and the blood flowed down, but it was still bearable. The constellations didn't blink as the dust settled down. They didn't know I had this much power and were shocked. Stop him! A blue-white energy flew towards the constellations. In an instant, there were abrasions on my back and thighs, as well as a long stab in my side. Junghyeok! My cry didn't reach him properly. Junghyeok had fallen to his knees, and his life was now flickering. No magic power could be felt from him. Junghyeok was dying. I held my breath and then shouted with the greatest true voice possible. Asmodeus! The true voice burst out, and the constellations blocked their ears for a moment. The great constellations couldn't stop, and tears poured from my eyes. I shouted again, If you are a demon king, keep your promise. The situation was so big that I didn't expect much. He was a shrewd guy and should know how dangerous it was to take my side right now. However, it was Asmodeus. As if waiting, one star in the sky flashed. There was a storm coming in, and something was descending. The demon king of lust and fury has appeared in this world. A tremendous probability was flowing, and a colossal presence was manifesting before my eyes as an incarnation body. A little girl surrounded by a dark aura raised her head. It was the king of the demon world, who immediately subdued the transcendent Junghyeok. Later, he would join one of the worst organizations in the world, the Seekers of the End. Demon King! The 32nd Demon King, Asmodeus, started running wild. He laughed, and a huge rake appeared at the fingers of the Demon King. Asmodeus's bloody grip scraped through the area and tore at the constellations. The Mad Demon King! What the hell is this? The constellations turned their gaze towards me, and I triggered Way of the Wind to snatch Junghyeok. Chase him! The constellations started running, but my strengthened incarnation body was a bit faster than them. I ran with all my strength while carrying Junghyeok on my shoulder. Wake up, please. Junghyeok was barely breathing. The weight of his body was lighter than usual. He had suffered such severe pain that even the skeleton of his body seemed changed. I listened to his gradually fading heartbeat and cried out, Hey, don't mess around. You can recover. Do something. However, Junghyeok didn't move. I called out to Biyu and bought a few more great return pills. My left hand supported his body while my right hand poured the pills into Junghyeok's mouth. No effect was visible. He didn't have the strength to swallow it. His breathing slowed and became distant. The tips of Junghyeok's toes were breaking, and his body was disappearing. I used Way of the Wind to wrap around the debris and prevent them from escaping. Even so, I couldn't prevent the dim light from emerging from his heart. I was well aware of this phenomenon. I had read the scene a few 100 times and had to know what it was. Junghyeok had a thought. Don't think about it. This life ends here. Damn it, don't think about it! Story fragments were falling from Junghyeok's cheeks. I was scared of this story and slapped his cheeks before crying out into the air. Shit! Don't go back, you jerk! Leave him alone! The sponsor of Incarnation, Junghyeok, is looking at you. You can still survive. This round isn't over. You can fight back against this guy. I can save you. Junghyeok's sponsor was silent. This guy always did the same thing. He watched Junghyeok suffering from death. He placed the soul of a hopelessly broken man back into the world line of the past. The stigma regression level 3 has been activated. It was cruel. Was this really how it ended? How did I get here? Would Junghyeok really die here? Then a single line emerged. Incarnation, Junghyeok is looking at his sponsor. Junghyeok? Junghyeok, who became so ragged that his shape couldn't be recognized, stared at his sponsor with a single bloody eye. Sparks appeared around his disappearing body. Incarnation, Junghyeok is resisting his sponsor. All the stories of Incarnation, Junghyeok, are resisting death. This was something I had never seen in any round. The Incarnation, Junghyeok, has refused to regress.